All right, let's talk about corporate responsibility. Now, I know it's a big phrase, but we're going to break it down in a way that connects something you see every day, like your local bakery, to something huge, like the United Nations global goals.
So, what does a neighborhood bakery have in common with the United Nations? I know, it sounds like the setup to a joke, right? You've got one place kneading dough and the other debating global policy. But stick with me, because the answer that connects them is actually pretty amazing, and it tells us a lot about what it really means to be a great company in the 21st century.
Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about what makes a company a super company. And as you'll see, it's about way more than just what they sell. You know, at its heart, any company, a toy maker, a clothing store, an app developer, they all do one basic thing. They make stuff or provide a service that people want. But for some companies, that's just the starting point. They look past the profits and ask a much bigger, more important question. How can we do more?
So let's go back to our bakery. Of course, it has to make great bread, right? That's just step one. But a super bakery, well, it takes things to the next level. It's the kind of place that buys its flour from local farmers, supporting its own community. And at the end of the day, any leftover loaves, they go straight to a food bank, to people who need them. It's not just a business, it becomes a real part of the neighborhood fabric.
And that's really the key difference right there. A regular company, they're focused on making a great product. And that's fine. But a super company, they're focused on making a great product and making the world a better place. It's a huge shift in thinking, from just making a sale to building a real relationship with the world around them.
Okay, the bakery example is great for a small, local scale. But why is this mindset so critical when we're talking about massive, global companies? Well, it all comes down to one word: impact.
Here's a simple fact. Every single company uses resources, period. Think about it. Water, power, raw materials, people's time and energy. No business just exists in a bubble.
And because they're pulling from this shared pool of resources, everything they do has a ripple effect. Those ripples can be good, or they can be bad, but they always impact our environment and our communities.
So that impact creates this fundamental need for them to be accountable for their actions. And I love this. The source material we're looking at today boils it all down to one simple, powerful word: kindness. It's really just about being aware of the footprint you're leaving and deciding to make it a positive one.
Now, this whole idea of kindness isn't just some fuzzy, feel-good concept. It's actually been built into real, official playbooks for companies all over the world. So let's take a look at the actual rules for doing good.
To pull this off, you need a new kind of leader. It's called globally responsible leadership, or GRL for short. Basically, it means leaders can't just think about profit anymore. They have to weave social, environmental, and economic thinking into every single decision they make. It has to become part of the company's DNA.
And one of the biggest tools in their toolbox is something called the UN Global Compact. The best way to think about it is like a universal rulebook for responsible business. It gives them a clear, internationally agreed upon framework so everyone's playing by the same rules. This whole compact is built on 4 massive pillars. We're talking human rights, fair labor standards, protecting the environment, and fighting corruption. And these aren't just nice suggestions, For any global business, these 4 areas represent their biggest risks, but also their biggest opportunities.
Okay, so we have the super company mindset, and we have the global playbook. So where does this all lead? Let's connect the dots and figure out what the end game is here. What is the ultimate goal?
This whole idea didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been an evolution. It started with a simple idea of basic ethics, that kindness we talked about. Then it grew into a more formal idea of corporate responsibility. After that, we got global frameworks like the UN Global Compact to standardize things. And it's all been building toward one massive, shared goal.
And here it is. The ultimate goal is to get all these companies to aim their efforts at achieving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The whole point is for businesses to create models that don't just make money, but actually help solve the biggest problems facing our world.
When you get right down to it, the SDGs are basically humanity's shared blueprint for a better future. It's our roadmap for tackling the big stuff: poverty, climate change, you name it. It's all about building a world that works for everyone and for the planet itself, not just for today, but for the long haul.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the beginning. From that small neighborhood bakery all the way to huge global goals, we see that any company, big or small, can choose to be a super company. It all starts with that simple choice to be kind. So I'll leave you with this question.
who's going to build the next one?